Okay guys, today we're going to be making almond macaroons. So you are going to need some egg whites, some ground almonds, some blanched almonds, some sugar. Let's start by thinking about the almonds. So almonds obviously are a nut and they can be processed in a number of ways. When an almond is first harvested, it's in a shell. And sometimes you might get those at Christmas still in the shell. You need to get a nutcracker to break them open. When they first come out of the shell, they look a bit like this. They've got this skin on them. Okay. These almonds that we're using today were whole blanched almonds. So you can see they've undergone some processing to remove the skin. What happens is that they are put into hot water, boiling water, and then plunged into cold water, which helps release this brown skin, which then means that you get a blanched almond like this, so the skin is removed. From that point, you can either buy them whole, like that. They might be flaked, like these ones. See, it's just this that's been cut into thin slivers. Or they might be ground, like this, which makes it more like a very coarse flour. All right, so those are our almonds. Now the function of our almonds in these macaroons is mainly for flavour and texture. The ground almonds are the main bulk of the ingredients. They're what's going to give our macaroons their bite, their structure. But they also give it an awful lot of flavour. The blanched almonds are merely there for decoration. They'll add a bit of texture, but they're mainly there for decoration. Our eggs, the eggs are going to bind all of our ingredients together, and they're also going to give the macaroon structure in that when they cook, when it's in the oven, the protein in the egg white is going to coagulate and set solid. The sugar is obviously going to give us a sweet flavour. It also is a natural humectant, so it's going to help keep our macaroons fresh, essentially, for longer. It's going to prevent them from going stale too quickly. It's also in the oven going to caramelise and give the macaroons a lovely golden colour over the top. If we then think about the nutritional value of each of our ingredients, in our almonds, we've mainly got protein, or there is an awful lot of protein in almonds. Almonds do have a low biological value. However, they would have a high biological value if they had just one more essential amino acid. They're only missing one, which is lysine. They also contain fibre. They're a good source of monounsaturated fat. They contain vitamin E, which is an antioxidant. It's used for your immune system and helps maintain healthy skin and eyes. And finally, it's got a little bit of calcium in there, a little bit. I wouldn't quote it as being a good source of calcium though in your exam. The egg whites are mainly protein. Protein, a couple of the B vitamins in there. There isn't much fat in the egg whites. The fat is all in the egg yolks. We don't need the egg yolks today. You could use these for a custard or something, creme brulee. But in the average large egg white, there is 3.6 grams of protein. However, it's only 0.5% fat, so there's very little fat in there. All of the fat for these macaroons is going to be coming from the almonds. The sugar, as we know, this is sucrose, which is a disaccharide, and it's going to give us fast release energy. So let's actually start cooking. We don't need to start this recipe by preheating the oven. These have to sit for 10 to 15 minutes, and in that time we can heat the oven. What we're going to start by doing is getting a fresh bowl. We're going to mix the almonds, the ground almonds, in with the sugar. Okay, and we're just going to mix those together. So they're nicely incorporated. And then put those to one side. This recipe is from Delicious Magazine, by the way, if you want to go and look it up. Our egg whites, we have to whisk until they are frothy. The recipe says to use an electric whisk, but there is no plug anywhere near me, so I'm going to have to do it by hand. So we're just going to whisk them until frothy. You don't have to use this exact type of whisk. Use a balloon whisk, an electric whisk, stand mixer. So we're going for frothy. About frothy. That'll do. This is possibly the easiest recipe ever. So I make these along. You're then going to gradually mix your egg whites into your almond and sugar mix. That's fine if it's a bit runny, because all it's doing is binding it together. The main problem with using ground almonds, they are absolutely delicious. Like I said, this recipe is incredibly easy, but it's also really expensive. Ground almonds are very expensive. However, if you think about it, these biscuits are perfect for somebody with a gluten intolerance or for a celiac. So that's pretty much that. I've got 2 trays here that have been lined, and I'm going to take my little spoon because I want them all to be about the same size. And then all you do is you roll them into little balls, and then on each one place a halved almond, and then you do that for the rest. Okay, so here they are all rolled out. You can see each one's got their little almond on the top. They've been sat resting for about 10 minutes, which you need to do. And while they're resting, you can preheat the oven. The oven needs to be preheated to 190 degrees. That's 170 for a fan oven. And then you just pop them in and you bake them for about 15 to 20 minutes. Okay. Okay guys, so these are now come out of the oven. As you can see, they've got a lovely golden brown because the sugar has caramelized over the top. I have let them cool. I just let them cool, sat on the tray. I wouldn't try and lift them up. So yeah, so they've got a lovely golden brown because due to the caramelisation. They've set because the eggs coagulated. They're no longer sticky. And inside, you've got like a slightly chewy, sort of slightly meringue texture. Not actually like meringue, but like that chewiness in the middle of a meringue. Okay. So if we go back to the almonds, if we remembered, we said the almonds originally come in a shell. The breaking of the shell, cracking the shell and removing the shell, that would be our primary processing. Then after that, they had the skins on, didn't they? And then you could have them blanched, you could have them flaked, you could have them ground. That would be our secondary processing. And finally, making them into a final product like this, where you mix them with other ingredients, that would be our tertiary processing. All right, so primary processing, removing the shells. Secondary processing would be blanching them, grinding them, basically turning them into more of an ingredient that we would use. And then finally we have our tertiary, which is making them into, in this case, macaroons, but it could be, well, anything really. You could include them in a curry or in an apple crumble, for example. Okay, guys?